Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to TSP TV. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode, which has been a little bit long overdue in coming. And for those of you who do know, I have been suffering with a little bit of a personal bereavement and the loss of my father, as well as a couple of other personal issues. It really has been quite life-changing for me in the last couple of weeks. But rather than dwell on that and trying to reclaim a little bit of normality and try and get a little bit of routine and structure back into my life, rather than feeling sorry for myself and down in the dumps, I'm getting back into, or at least trying to get back into the habit and routine of possibly bringing you guys some videos. So you may also know we've got a little bit of a different setup here in the thrift store studio here today, and that was a little bit of something I did over the weekend. Kind of had a little bit of a tidy up, rearranged, flipped over the mats because the other sides were looking a little bit shabby, and a change is as good as a break, as they say. So maybe a little bit of a not necessarily a spring clean, but a little bit of a refresher in the way TSP TV studio looks. We also do have it's not on at the minute, the TV screen there, and hopefully we will be able to utilize that to some degree in the future. But today's episode, we are going to be talking a little bit about how my pantry has served me through the pandemic. And we are 6 months into the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and for that 6 months I really have been out of work the entire time, with the exception of 2 days where I was kind of asked back to work to help out temporarily until they found someone to replace me. And then amongst that 2 days, my father also passed away, so I kind of haven't been back to work since that, and don't think I will be returning to work anytime soon. But the reason I prep is for the eventualities of being out of work, more than doomsday shit hitting the fan apocalyptic type of scenarios, which we actually do kind of find ourselves in on a global scale, although not the cool shit hitting the fan apocalyptic scenarios that movies and sci-fi TV series have led us to believe might happen, like zombie apocalypse or asteroid strikes, or dare I say Soylent Green type scenarios. And that was a video I've actually had removed for copyright strikes 3 or 4 months after I uploaded it. All of a sudden Warner Bros feels that it's against their policy to allow me to use some of the content in that video. Is that because of copyrights, or is it because the Soylent Green Society video was a little too close to the mark? You let me know. If or not you even saw that video, it remains to be seen. But when they do start to censorship, it's possibly because there's a reason they don't want people knowing this stuff. But anyway, I do prepare, as you know, and have been a prepper for a couple of years, and this whole channel was built and formed on the foundations of me building a little micro pantry of my own, and you can indeed follow those humble origins right up to this video on the playlist of building a micro pantry. And partly over these weeks and months, the reason that I do prep is because, you know, in my time of working in the service industry, sort of under the counter, a little bit off the grid, so to speak, these last 8 or so years that I've been living in Toronto, there has been periods of time where I've been out of work. When I've been out of work, I've not exactly had much in the pantry to feed or sustain myself on. So rather than to avoid those scenarios repeating themselves, a couple of years ago, after talking to some fellow Canadian prepper, Michelle Dion, who runs TSP TV and has become a dear friend in those couple of years, TSP TV News rather, over on Facebook, excuse me there, but I should become a dear friend, and I was talking to her and kind of passing on some of my dollar store prepping and prison type prison commissary type prepping items that I pick up at the dollar store. This kind of was the spark that built the thrift store prepper. And up until very, very recently, when the pandemic broke out, I did top up my pantry regularly, sort of every couple of weeks. And as it did kind of grow to a substantial size, I kind of added additional items like MREs and rations and such forth, maybe not just for survival purposes, but also for review and content purposes on these videos. But I built a pretty substantial pantry over the years that this channel has run, and evolved into so much more than just going to the dollar store and putting a few packets of ramen and a couple of cans of beans in a plastic storage container that was my micro pantry, that kind of grew to be a little bit more than just a micro micro pantry, and it did give me around sort of 8 or 9 months worth of food, and I was kind of aiming until this break, lockdown and outbreak of the corona scam pandemic virus. I was aiming to try and get a year's worth of food, but in the 6 months of the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, I've been living pretty much primarily off of my pantry with occasional top-ups in online delivery stores, which is something I don't necessarily agree with, but a ways to a means. I get my donations from you guys via my PayPal account. Walmart online does actually accept PayPal as a form of payment, as unlike many other organizations. So using, it's kind of, if I want to go to the grocery store, I have to then transfer my PayPal to somebody who then will give me the cash. So cutting out all that process, I can just order online and have it delivered to my door. And also, because it gets delivered, I can also order a little bit more than I can necessarily carry on foot by hand. So anyway, I've been sort of topping up a little bit with some fresh items, just stuff like potatoes and eggs, maybe some bacon and sausages, breads, sandwich type of stuff, and that kind of gives me a little bit of a balanced diet, and kind of does get a little bit of fresh nutrients into the system, as opposed to the heavily processed canned items, which primarily is what my pantry is made of. So momentarily we will be stepping out of this little studio area, and again, give me some comments below if you do like it, if you can be bothered to comment at all. Do welcome them, because they do sort of encourage a little bit of community interaction, and also do help me to kind of grow. If you do sort of take a little bit of time, sort of tinker around and try and change things to make it a little bit more aesthetical, if not necessarily informative, maybe some feedback is appreciated on those fronts. But as I said, we will be stepping into the pantry, and I'm going to be sort of kind of dishing out everything that I do have remaining in my pantry, which will see me fed for quite the foreseeable future, if you're not exactly too fussy or require too much of a variety in your diets. I can sort of pretty much eat beans and ramens for another 3 or 4 months, maybe even a little bit longer. But as I said, we will be going and having a little look at everything I have got, but it is a little bit deplenished over these months, as I said, with the addition to those little grocery top-ups that I have added to the refrigerator. The pantry stuff is either supplemented or complemented, or been part of my dietary system rather, for this entire pandemic. And really and truly, I didn't necessarily have to buy fresh stuff from Walmart. It was just a food fatigue, and just kind of eating ramen noodles and beans and cans of soup and canned potatoes and canned beans and stuff like that. It does kind of get repetitive. You do kind of get a little bit tired of it, and there comes no real comfort from eating when you're just kind of eating because you have to eat to stay alive. So, and that is another reason why getting a few items does also stretch the pantry out a little bit further, as well as giving you a few comfort items. But really and truly, I haven't spent a great deal on food in this entire time, and for the first month of this, it was kind of a little bit cool and quirky, and I was treating it a little bit like a vacation, and lived off of my out-of-date MREs. I had a couple of cases of out-of-date MREs that kind of did feed me for nearly 2 months, about 6-7 weeks. I kind of broke those down. That was a video you may have seen. I rat-fucked all my rations, which means basically to open them up, take all the components down, and then kind of I ate them as and when I needed, rather than eating the entire MRE as it comes in one sitting. I kind of pick and chose, but that kept me fed for about 6 months, 6 weeks or more, and then, as I said, the prolongment of this lockdown and being out of work. Oh my goodness, look what happened. We've been too long. We lost the screen. But anyway, I hope you like the little decal we got there going. But as I said, it started to seem never ending, and all of a sudden, sort of my extremely stocked and the variety of food I had started to disappear, and I am really pretty much left with the basics. Is that I did kind of tend to eat a lot of the sort of comforty granola bars, trail mixes, cookies, crackers, that kind of thing, before breaking over the kind of Boyardees and the Heinz 57 beans, and resorting to some kind of prison ramen type recipes to feed myself daily. But anyway, guys, I've been bragging on long enough now, or rambling on rather long enough about kind of nothing. And you know, Costanza is a little bit of a hero of mine, so we will be stepping over to the pantry, have a little look at what it's looking like now. Then I'm going to pull everything out, do a little bit of rearranging, and we'll hopefully see what it looks like at the end of the day before rounding up this video. So without further ado, let's head over to the pantry. Okay, so that's what the pantry is looking like at the moment. I mean, it's still pretty tidy, but we do have some empty spaces, and we also have some empty containers. So basically what I'm going to try and do is move a few things around, maybe try and cram all of what we have here in these little containers, and probably try and spread it out in the units the best we can. So as I said, there's quite a lot of space coming in here, and maybe rearranging some of the smaller cans with the bigger cans, we might be able to get everything to fit in just very small units. And maybe, as I said, remove some of these little containers from the side. Now, the unit that I did pick up actually around Christmas time as part of the 1-year anniversary and part of the TSP TV upgrade. I don't know if you remember, there is a video for that where I did upgrade. I actually don't like it very much. It's not as sturdy as the original micro pantry unit, which we started out on with those first few videos in its humble origins. And as I said, once that kind of got full, we just expanded and grew and chopped and changed and used things that we sort of found is part of the trasher hunting series and stuff like that, and utilized that the best we could to sort of build a pantry space and have some sort of shelving units and containers to keep stuff in. But I had sort of dreams and plans to try and kind of get it a little bit uniformed and a little bit like self-contained. And also a little bit portable again. You know, maybe you can't carry this in one, it would be a little bit heavy with all the cans in there, but you could take the drawers out and just put them into a van or a car or whatever it was you were using to transport it. If you were kind of living in a van or something like that, you were actually bugging out in a vehicle and you had a van, you know, you could set this up in the back of the van and probably wouldn't take up that much room either. In van life is something I'm a little bit interested in and may even possibly pursue in the future. And if I did go down that route and do ever kind of get to tick that off the bucket list, then, you know, this would possibly be a similar setup to the pantry that I would have in a van. And that was kind of the intent of the micro Sensi prepping kind of method that I kind of coined for myself. Maybe some of you also have adopted some of these tactics. I do know that our dear friend down under No Script, we haven't heard up from in a while, prayers and thoughts to her, hope everything is okay. And also Heidi over at Disabled and Prepping. Now, these are two kind of, I can't say prodigies of the thrift store philosophy of prepping, but they certainly have taken some influence. In Heidi over there at Disabled and Prepping almost has a carbon copy setup to this, which is very, very reassuring and comforting to see that my humble kind of methods have been adopted by a few more experienced preppers. But anyway, as I said, guys, what I'm going to try and do with this is possibly get everything out and maybe do a little shot of what everything looks like, with the exception, I mean, that is literally primarily ramen noodles in the far left to your screen there, so there's not really much point in getting everything out or even rearranging that much. But as I said, this kind of main unit that I picked up, it's not very sturdy. It kind of, the drawers don't slide in and out very well, and I don't know if that's because possibly it's a little bit heavy, the cans and stuff are there, but it serves a purpose, but it isn't as nice and smooth and sturdy as the white one. I don't know if you can see, there's kind of a little bit of a dent on the top where I have had some stuff piled up on top that the weight it just wasn't strong enough to support. So anyway, as I said, guys, I'm going to probably get a lot of this stuff out and we can see what we have available before we rearrange it all. So that's without further ado what I'm about to do. Okay, so that took me a few minutes to pull everything out of now you can see there, those two units are empty. As I said, we're not going to get all of this stuff out. That's just ramen noodles. On top of ramen noodles in the top, I got some rice and couscous. We might have a little look at that before we go. And again, in here, we've got three containers full of ramen, some minute oats that are left, some oatmeal, and instant mashed potatoes. So I didn't want to get those out yet. As you can see, we have kind of filled up quite a large space. So I've got a huge amount of beans. I've got some boyardees, I've got mixed beans, chickpeas, lentils, that kind of stuff, potatoes. I got some soups left there at the end. I got a few condiments, some cheese whiz, a can of hot sauce. Some of you may or may not remember the good old meat sticks. Actually upset a couple of people when I bought these, and once I just got some subscribers, a few of them got upset when I started stroking my meat stick for you all. So that was one item there, and I've also got some like little cans, the tuna size cans of chicken. We've also got like Vienna sausages and stuff like this. So there's still a hell of a lot of cans there. As I said, if I kind of really did have to just eat one can of food a day just to stay alive, then I could kind of maybe 2 or 3, maybe a little bit longer months worth of food there rationing. And again, you know, I say one can a day, you could take 3 different cans, you know, maybe a can of chickpeas, a can of potatoes, and a can of beans, mix that all up together and make like 3 meals. And stretch that out over a period of time. That's kind of what I got all this stuff, so you kind of can combine items with other items and sort of mix and match a little bit, and like the soups are a little bit of a balanced meal, and again you kind of add extra beans or some potatoes to that, or maybe a can of the little tuna can of chicken. That makes it a little bit more hearty. So my aim of the game here is to try and get all of this. I mean, I know it will all fit in there, but I just want to kind of reorganize it a little bit, and maybe this stupid black unit that I have there will sort of hold itself together a little bit. I actually took it apart and sort of put it back together again, so it the stuff at the bottom that was getting the most weight is now at the top, so maybe that might make a little bit of a difference. Finally, I actually managed to get the drawers to shut as they should do, and not sort of have a gap or be sort of a little bit ski-whiff as they were with the cans. So as I said, my now part of the mission is to get all of this stuff there back into those storage units and try to possibly get rid of the little containers on the side, or maybe at least sort of downsize them enough so they're not stacked up like that, although they're not that untidy. But as I said, as the pandemic has gone on longer and longer, unfortunately, so too has the stockpile that was once in the pantry. But really and truly, without this pantry, I would have gone hungry for quite a long time through this duration of never-ending lockdown pandemic. No new, old normal is gone. The new normal is here to stay, it seems. But this food, as I said, will keep me fed for a few months longer, especially if I do continue to sort of supplement it wherein as I can. With some sort of fresh groceries and stuff like that, it will last a little bit longer. But the trouble is, the longer it goes on, the longer I am out of work, the less food is going to be available to me. As I said, this isn't going to last forever, although it has got a little bit of time before I'm at the point where I really would be without food. That isn't that far away, and this probably won't last as long as it is I might like to think. And as I said, I sort of say 3 months, and that is looking at it in the extreme rationing, just having to eat minimally to stay alive, to make it go as far. And a couple of times, I've sort of overindulged, maybe had a couple of cans of boyardee when I could have only had one, and maybe didn't kind of ration as much as I could. But as I said, I don't think anyone could have foreseen this kind of clusterfuck that is the scam pandemic of COVID-19 2020 happening. And I did start out 2020 by putting a video up 2020, time to prep. Coming food crisis. Food prices are on the rise. They are becoming a little bit scarce in some items now, or some grocery stores now will restrict you to the amount of items you can buy. So, there really is not a better time to start prepping. Unfortunately, due to the fact that I am out of work, I'm not really sort of able to top up my pantry as much as I would like, but that is the point of a pantry, to live off of when you are in an emergency situation. And as I said, I am in a little bit in an emergency, but by no means in dire straits. And without this now deplenished food supply at my disposal, it would have been a lot more uncomfortable than it has been. But as I said, guys, if you really want to, and are bored and got nothing better to do, and you want to watch the origins from start to present day, how I built my pantry, how I've had to live off of it these last few months, and you can do so at your own leisure. Why not? Catch up, do a little bit of thrift store folklore and research of your own. See how we started, see where we come from, see the lessons I taught that I've now had to live by. And that's what I'm saying. You kind of practice what we preach here at the thrift store. We don't manufacture reality. We don't stage events. We try to keep it as real and as honest as it can be, which is as real and as honest as it is. And hopefully those of you that are part of the thrift fam in the the thrift store community, and you thrifty preppers, you will appreciate the honesty and the humility in is humility even a word, but will hopefully appreciate that this is, honest. I am a real person. I'm not doing this to manufacture reality. I'm not doing this to sort of gain anything other than share some of the information and knowledge that have served me well, and hopefully that will serve you as well. So as I said, before I do embark on the rearranging, I think I am going to treat myself to a little smoke break, and hopefully you guys will see the end game to my endeavors, and we'll look at the new updated downsized, unfortunately, micro pantry, as it is becoming more and more micro now. One time it was growing in almost exponentially, but unfortunately, as I said, I've had to live on it. But that is the purpose of the pantry, and that's why you guys who watch are possibly preppers. You have pantries of your own that you can fall back on in emergencies, and I too have been able to fall back in my own emergency. That is everyone's emergency, because we're all affected by this pandemic shit. But as I said, guys, I'm going to go treat myself to a little smoke break. It'll be instantaneous for you, but we will see you when everything is restocked back in its containers. So here we go, guys. We have finished the task at hand, although I do notice something that is irritating me almost immediately. I will address that shortly. But I got everything that was out on the floor back into the relevant containers, although I have rearranged. I kind of put, if you can see, we will open the drawers in a second, but at the bottom there in the black unit, I've put the whole bottom container there, bottom drawer is full of beans. Then the second drawer, I have some Chef Boyardee, some SpaghettiOs, chili, refried beans, and some veggies like some sliced carrots and some baby corn. In the third drawer there, I have potatoes on one side, cans of soup on the other, and above there I do have some condiments. And then pretty much what I'd put in the bottom two drawers there are my mixed beans, my chickpeas, my lentils, stuff like that. And above it there are all my kind of proteins, like my generic spam, my cans of chicken, the turkey stuff, the meat sticks, and things like that. Not Wiener schnitzels, Vienna sausage. So that's my protein. And in the very top there, I do have my oatmeal. So as I said, let's go and have a little closer look and see what it looks like on the inside. So you can see we've got the luncheon meat. This is some stuff, corned beef hash. Very good item. They were on offer a little while ago. Got a few of those. Could probably do more of those because it's almost a complete balanced meal. A couple of ketchup pouches, stuff like that. Got some seasoning and some salsa there. So that was kind of the top drawer. I don't want to open these because they're very awkward to open and close. And I've kind of got them closed as best I can. I don't know if you can see at the bottom there. There is a kind of gap. That bottom one just will not shut completely for love nor money. In these containers over here, this is what was bugging me. So put that straight. Pretty much as it was with the bottom three. We've got the instant mashed potatoes and the gold wheat baggies that I rebaggaged for space consumption reasons. The next 2, 3 are all ramen, and then in this top one, I'll just take that out. We've got tea bags, got some Kool-Aid, I've got some MRE coffees and stuff that I saved there, some candies, sherbet dib dab, that is from England, got a Japanese candy left, a couple of Japanese candies. From the sushi candy unboxing and tasting that I did, I actually did eat it all off air, the remainder of it once that was remaining. I was going to do a little video for you to, or put them into the live feed and do the taste test, but I did eat all the Kit Kats and what was remaining in one big serving off air. Sorry about that, guys, but never mind. As I said, if we move just over to here, you can see in there, like I said, we've got corned beef, Vienna sausages, these little kinds of cans of chicken, and it's like halal turkey luncheon meat, which I believe is very similar to Spam. In fact, I know it's similar to Spam because I've tried it. As I said, in there, there's oatmeal, and I've got some little sugar containers, sugar packages, stuff I used to bring home from work. And this was the kind of drawer that I did want to show you. So there's those instant hash browns that Glynis sent me. They're not instant, actually, you have to rehydrate them. I've got couscous, and behind them these little bags of ready to eat basmati rice, but everything else in there is just ramen on top of ramen that hasn't been repackaged. Let me just go back, sorry there, don't know if you can see this. VZRM, one of his custom made MREs, and this is where I kind of keep my Ziploc bags. So there is one of my favorite ones, and you can see that, but that's what's in there pretty much, is like my recycled repackaging. There's a beef jerky barbecue courtesy of Glynis, stuff like that. I keep those in there because, as I've mentioned, and you should be aware if you follow the channel, those things come in very handy for more reasons than one. You can cook in them, you can use them to repackage things, you can use them to carry and transport stuff. Multi-purpose. If I come over here, there is a mask I bought from the dollar store at the start of this outbreak to show you how much they were profiting. Normally they were $2.50. The start of the pandemic, they went up to $3.50. So in here, I actually have a little bit of medical supplies, teaser for another video. I'll show you what we're going to do with that, but that is the sushi candy box. I'm kind of saving it because it was a nice box. And in here, that's all of my weed baggies, you know, familiar gold packages. Some of these nice green ones, you can almost make some little individual MREs out of those. But those are things I save, I don't know why. They do come in handy, as I said. I've got a whole stack there. Maybe if we get back on the nutsack manufacturing and production lines, make some custom made trail mix at some time in the future. Maybe we can do something there. Let me know if you want to see nutsacks in custom made trail mix videos again in the comments below, and maybe we can make it happen. So that's it, guys. It kind of, I don't know if it looks any neater or tidier. It looks about the same to most of you, but some of the clutter that was on top is kind of almost a little bit level now. I have removed 4 containers, so really and truly, I'm not saying that is all I've done, but 4 containers worth of food is what I have gone through through this pandemic. But in truth, the canned items here, which is kind of the foundation and the brunt in my absolutely backup food, that's why I kind of have these cans and stuff like ramen on hand as my ultimate emergency food, because it doesn't take much water to cook ramen. In fact, you can eat them from the packages, and everything in these cans I can just open and eat. May not be very tasty or nutritious, but with some soluble fuel tablets, or maybe even just a very small fire, I can possibly heat up a can of soup, potatoes, and eat from the can. So as I said, it's not very appetizing in the sense that it's going to be food that you possibly crave, but it is food that is relatively nutritionally dense. It is food that is going to be filling in a case like things like Chef Boyardee. It costs $1, but you get a veggie, you get a carb, and you get a protein. So not a bad item to have. And then just throwing in a single packet of rum into a packet of to a can of Chef Boyardee will bulk that up, add a little bit of nutritional value, not exactly an awful lot. And then if you keep the seasoning packet in the amount you add to a minimum, you will reduce your sodium. So as I said, guys, it's kind of really back down to the basics and the very sort of first kind of items that I did start to put in my pantry. And the reason why, because this stuff is very, very inexpensive. And as I said, it is kind of quite nutritionally dense, and in some cases almost a balanced meal in itself, in terms of things like the cans of chili, the soup, and the boyardees. And eat as you go. You can take these and eat them out of the can. You don't need any additional cooking equipment, and that is what Sensi prepping is to me. Is sensible prepping. Sensi is short for sensible, and I don't need any additional fuel. I don't necessarily need any additional water, and as I said, all I need to be able to do is really open the cans and I can eat them. And as I said, these are the fact that these were all inexpensive. Not many of these items cost more than $2, although some of the cans of meat were $3 and $4. The majority of this was under $2, and then ramen is cheap as you like. You can get that on some very, very good deals. I picked up that whole container that we're looking at on the left hand side there for 10 cents a package. So I spent $10 and got myself 100 ramen noodles. That's a great investment right there. 100 ramen noodles will last you quite some time. If all you had to eat is a ramen noodle for a day, or a couple of ramen noodles for a day, that's a month's worth of food for $10. But that's what I wanted to do in the very first instant, was maybe fill up this single white container. That was the intent at the start of my micro pantry build, to put maybe a month's worth of food in there, which I pretty much have at the moment with the oatmeal. I mean, the oatmeal, it's not flavored. You can actually kind of mix it with the chicken and have like savory oatmeals, which is something they do in the Far East. Like in China, they have something called congee, which is kind of like a savory porridge. And I do know in sort of like the Philippines and places like that, they have savory oatmeal for breakfast in the morning, and kind of like green onion and chives and that kind of stuff in there, maybe a little bit of bacon, similar to grits I get. So you can, you don't just necessarily have to have that sweet. You can use oatmeal also in soups to kind of bulk that out if you need to make kind of what do they call it in the Russian military, or the Eastern European military, kasha. The kasha, that's sort of like a savory oatmeal with meat. So multi-purpose items, stuff that can be utilized in coordination with each other, if you get what I'm saying. And again, I believe I'm rambling on a little bit longer than I possibly should about nothing right now. And hopefully you get the picture. So that is bulk food. I mean, maybe what you're seeing here, $150 would buy you everything in that pantry, and that will give you a substantial amount of food for a month or two. And as I said, it does look a little bit more neater and compartmentalized. Now it has been downsized. So we will be finishing up, because there's not much else I can add to this other than thanks for watching. Hope maybe you got something from this video. If not, then again, leave a comment below and tell me what you think. As of that, let's just wrap this up. Say this was a shit video production. This was TSP TV. I was your host, the Thrift Store Prepper. You can call me T, or TSP TV, or any other names that you may like to do behind my back or in private. But other than that, guys, look after yourselves, take care of one another, and remember, be excellent to each other. And we will see you in the next one. Till then, keep it thrifty. This is Ship Video Productions. This is TSP TV. Take care, guys.